So I was watching this Zesty video where he reacts to this video and does a sin counter thing of his own. The video he was covering was so wrong that I myself have decided to make a video similar to his. Keep in mind that I haven't actually played this game, and I really don't like to step into the ring without first-hand experience with the thing I'm talking about. This time though is the exception just because of how wrong that video was. Zesty brought up some good points himself, but I feel like some of his arguments were on the weaker side of things, saying stuff like, bro, it's just a game. I try not to bring up the exact same points he made in his video, but you know, there's gonna be some overlap obviously. Also, Zesty is a lot more lenient when it comes to forgiving sins, and even though I'm based in Jesus pilled, I'm gonna leave the sin forgiveness to the Lord. I ain't doing it. Also, please don't even bother commenting about satire and whatnot. Because no, this video isn't satire. I don't know why people think these kind of videos are satire, just because other people say they are. What are they satirizing exactly? The word has become a shield from criticism that only gets brought up when people can actually refute your comments you make in your videos. You'll never see anybody say, oh, it's just satire though, don't take it so seriously, when somebody actually makes a good point. I'm going to try to be as brief as possible because this video is very long, so if some of my comments are like 2 sentences long, I'm sorry. Alright, let's hop in. I'll try not to be too mean, and also I hope you guys like the word inherently.
Gaming industry, can you stop with this pretentious soft reboot trend you're doing by naming the most recent entry in a series the same as the first entry, especially when the story is a continuation of the same main protagonist? It's stupid, it's silly, stop trying to confuse everyone.
Sure, on paper it's confusing, but I've never seen anybody refer to this game simply as God of War. It's either God of War 4, God of War PS4, God of War 2018, or when the game was brand new, the new God of War. I do agree that a subtitle would have been nicer, but honestly, I can't think of anything that would actually fit. Now, it's not to say that there's no subtitle that could fit this game, I'm just saying it's not as obvious as, for example, Ragnarok is. Also, just naming it God of War indicates it's a new jumping on point for the series.
I am cursed!
Kratos, the all-powerful God-Slayer, has trouble chopping a tree, which becomes even more perplexing when later on he flips a damn temple upside down.
Why is Usain Bolt walking? Isn't he the fastest man alive? Wouldn't it be quicker if he just ran everywhere?
Yeah, okay, I see.
This game is pretty much confirming all the concerns I had about it before release. Cutscene, walk forward, dramatic music sprinkled here and there, plus a father-son dynamic, and boom, you got your game of the year.
Is this a sin? Possibly. It could have been done in a cutscene, but honestly I have the feeling that if it was, you'd be sitting it for the fact that the game opens up with a long cutscene.
I grow tired!
I see that Santa Monica has been taking tips from Ubisoft and implementing the dead parent for motivation cliche, seeing as how the main objective of this game is to take the ashes of Atreus' mother to the highest peak of all the realms. That's it. I mean, sure, there's a 33-hour journey between now and then, but by the time I got to the end, I was thinking to myself, oh, we went through all of these obstacles just for this.
How is this a sin? Our heroes start off on a very personal journey that expands and gets them into other people's affairs. How is that inherently bad? You want your character to have personal stakes and a goal or goals in a story. Also, cliches aren't inherently a sin.
Athena!
Snowy wood does not catch fire that quickly.
Yeah, I assume he wasn't using like a magic thing to make the fire. So yeah, this is true. But I don't think the game would be inherently better if we got an extended scene of Kratos lighting fire. It would just kind of be like, okay, can you hurry this up, game? Is it really necessary? No.
You will suffer for this!
Atreus, I know you're a kid. Might want to wait till after she's been cremated before you grab that knife.
Yeah, Atreus made a mistake. Why are you sinning the game, though? Are you sinning the fact that he made a mistake? Or do you think the mistake is just so dumb that nobody would actually make it? Cause let me tell ya, I've seen plenty of people grab onto hot things with their bare hands, just because they weren't really thinking about what they were doing. It seems like an obvious thing not to do, but hindsight's 20/20, it happens.
That is not my concern.
Game tells me to hunt with Atreus when Kratos just told him that he was going to hunt alone.
To be fair to this guy, in his description it says he nitpicks the hell out of video games, but big oof Minecraft sound on this one, boys.
What are you doing back there? The hunting grounds are this way.
Action-adventure game featuring heavy amounts of exploration still feels the need to prevent me from exploring.
Oh my god, the boy told me to go one direction, I wasn't actually walking, oh no, I can't just ignore him. I'm forced to go the way he's telling me. This is basically a hallway simulator. We all know that he'd be singing the game if there was no indication on where to go, right?
Return to Sparta.
Kratos can jump gaps, but he can no longer double jump.
Not having a double jump isn't a sin. Are you saying it is because it's a lore inconsistency, or simply for gameplay reasons? If it's for gameplay, well then take that universal design philosophy L. And if it's for the inconsistency thing, then take that Mahler L.
Keep going.
Attack commands on the shoulder buttons, somewhat sluggish and toned down gameplay, this third-person locked-on camera angle. Look, I know this is going to come as a shock to some of you, but Dark Souls is not the pinnacle of action combat. May I humbly direct you to the corners of Devil May Cry, the original God of War games, Ninja Gaiden, Onimusha, God Hand, Monster Hunter, Metal Gear Rising, and Bayonetta, for games that not only require skill, but actually have some style and or a wide variety of combos to perform. This Dark Souls type of combat is not the be-all end-all. I think it's high time everyone stops pretending that it is.
Does this count as whataboutism? Because I'm pretty sure it might. If the game had the gameplay of the originals, we all know that he'd be saying the fact that after 5-ish years, they still felt the need to fall back on that old formula that people were kind of sick of at that point. He made it sound like this game doesn't require skill, it doesn't have style, and that you can't combo the hell out of enemies. Again, I haven't played it, but I'm pretty sure a quick YouTube search will at the very least objectively disprove that last bit. Also, something not being the be-all end-all doesn't really mean anything in this context. I can say the exact same thing for the combat style of the originals. Finally, there is some hardcore Dark Souls nerd out there that is very, very upset that you compared this to Dark Souls.
I will not let you destroy Sparta.
And since you very much dislike cliches, as we will see throughout the video, I'm gonna hit you with that comparing everything to Dark Souls cliche.
I told you I would make you pay for what you did.
The rule of 3 cliche permeates this game, so much so that instead of going through each one of them individually, I'm just gonna go ahead and add 20 sins.
See? More cliches. Things being in groups of 3? Now that's a sin. Very bad. Yes. Why though?
Hear me!
There are more chests in this game than loot boxes in an EA title.
I think the worst thing to come out of CinemaSins is the I make joke and then add a sin thing. The game having lots of chests to open isn't a sin.
Read!
Gotta admit, I wasn't expecting the explosive red barrels that only exist to advance the gameplay. But then again, it's one of the oldest video game cliches, so I shouldn't be surprised.
This game would be better if it didn't have red exploding barrels. Okay.
I will make you suffer!
Game makes a failed attempt to pile on the emotion when the entire point of this opening sequence is to hunt down this deer, and Kratos has mentioned that multiple times. And it eventually becomes a waste of time since a troll takes the deer and robs us of our meal.
Shooting a deer from afar isn't the same thing as stabbing it yourself. Just because you are told that you are going to do something that might be unpleasant doesn't mean that you will no longer find it so. Also, this is a really nice father-son moment. It shows us that Kratos is trying to be better, even if at times he really doesn't know how to. It also shows Atreus' first step into manhood. It's not about the deer meat, you miss the point entirely.
I am the God of War!
Speaking of the troll, it's the first boss fight in the game, if you can even call it that.
Not a boss. Boulder's the boss. That was pretty obvious.
You can still hold a sword.
I haven't been sick in a long time.
Well, bad enough that you have the dead parent cliche, but now you also include the sick child cliche. A predicament, I might add, will only be addressed in one mission and then will never be brought up again.
This is kind of a weak point because it only gets mentioned a handful of times, but we know you would be sending it if it was brought up more, saying something like, "We get it already. The boy is sick. We get it." Also, being sick isn't a cliche, right? No, and even if it was a cliche, those aren't inherently bad.
I cannot change my fate!
The path home is this way.
Duh? I think that word is a bit too modern for you, boy.
Yeah, they do use a few words that are pretty modern, but why, oh, why would you say boy like that? All you needed to do was not have the comma there, and it would have sounded fine. I don't know, maybe he's Canadian and calling people boy in that way doesn't carry the same vaguely racist connotation that it does in America. Or perhaps he was making an edgy joke, which if he was doing that, that's fine. But it really just doesn't feel like it belongs with the rest of the video's tone, you know? Very strange, very distracting. Why would you do that?
For shame. All the detail in this game and you couldn't program wind chime physics.
That's a fair point.
You lost control.
That thing was trying to kill us. It's not like you don't get angry in a fight.
Except you got angry after the troll had already been killed.
Atreus has a character flaw. Guess I'll sin the game.
Come down here and face me now, Zeus! Anger can be a weapon. If you control it, use it. You clearly cannot. Athena! Do not deny me my revenge!
You were saying?
It's almost like Kratos wants his son to be better than he was or something like that. Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Release me! What do you want?
Oh, you already know the answer to that.
Not really. I mean, you could ask Kratos for specifics, but then that would be spoiling a plot twist that happens later on.
Fans of the series will assume that Boulder in this scene knows that Kratos is Greek. Kratos himself probably thinks that too. Boulder really thinks that Kratos is a giant. He just thinks that Kratos is playing dumb here, because what else would he be? Why would Boulder assume that he is anything else than what Boulder knows Kratos is? He even sees the two beds at one point, which makes him believe that he was right and that Kratos is hiding Faye.
Atlas! You do not want this fight.
I'm pretty sure I do.
So, what was that about being diplomatic again?
Just tell me what I want to know. No need for this to get bloody.
Boulder is the villain of the game, and if you didn't know, villains often will lie to get what they want.
Read!
No.
I don't have time for this.
Says the guy who started this fight.
What?
Hey, game, if you're gonna have a lock-on function, maybe not have it give up so easily.
I can't really speak to this, so okay.
Even if I didn't have knowledge about Norse mythology, there is no way the game was going to fool me with this act. You never fight a powerful foe like this at the beginning and then that be the only encounter you have with him.
The Hydra, the Colossus of Rhodes, and Poseidon are three very powerful enemies that you fight at the start of the game and that you never fight ever again. This is actually a first for the God of War series, so I don't think it's that far-fetched that some people would just assume like maybe that's the end of that guy. We're going to fight like his relatives or people like him after that, so...
He still has some of the powers of a god!
Whoa. How did this happen?
Oh, come on. Do you really think that it was anything other than the brawl your father had with a stranger that briefly took place on top of the cabin you were hiding under?
He doesn't mean how, like, how did that one specific tree over there break, Dad? He means, like, generally the situation they're in.
Zeus!
Game somehow manages to make climbing more monotonous than it's ever been.
Can't really speak to this, so sure.
Puzzles where you hoist Atreus up and he does something while you do something else. Boy, I sure enjoyed these puzzles a lot more when there was platforming involved and double jumping.
Okay, but how is this a sin? Sin equals when I don't like something.
Read it.
That is the most gorgeous JPEG background I have seen in a modern video game.
JPEGs aren't sinful, only web files are. Also, notice how I made a joke and I'm not increasing the counter.
The fake-ass narrow crevice loading screen.
I'm pretty sure a real loading screen is more of a sin than this, but okay, sure.
This is your purpose. Die with honor.
Yeah, totally didn't see that one coming.
Atreus do be falling, though.
Level-based enemies are one of the worst design choices in modern video games. I mean, sure, you play as Kratos, someone who has killed numerous gods in the past, but if you come across a regular Draugr that just so happens to be a few levels higher than you, it can easily one-shot you, regardless of your skills, armor, or abilities you've unlocked. Not stupid game design at all.
Somebody really didn't like Oblivion, which is fair. You can't tell if it's actually as much as a problem as this guy makes it out to be, but leveled enemies as a concept isn't inherently flawed, so no.
Gods!
Atreus becomes distraught after being forced to kill a man, even though Kratos had already warned him not to feel remorse for anybody.
When my kid turns 7, I'm going to tell him that one day my parents will grow old and die, so that when I eventually have to tell him that Grandma and Grandpa died, he won't feel bad about it. Because that's how humans work. Yeah.
I am cursed!
Actually, let's go back a second. You know that full-ass adults that have been trained by the best military in the world still feel remorse when they kill somebody, right? Did the drill sergeant not tell them not to feel bad enough in basic? Is that the real cause of PTSD?
Hades!
Can't get this slow-eyed cocklump to cross the bridge.
Well, it ain't too often you come across.
I'm not gonna make you guys listen to this. I don't know why he brings up RPG specifically, but okay.
For the purpose I have chosen.
You're not gonna believe me, but That axe you got. It was me what made her. Me and my brother.
Well, somebody ring the bell of convenience.
Convenience isn't inherently a sin.
All of Olympus will suffer.
Armor upgrades. Like, why? This is the same Kratos that practically killed the entire Greek pantheon wearing nothing but a skirt and sandals. And you're gonna try to convince me he needs armor to protect himself? Especially when he's already demonstrated to have Wolverine healing factor in this very game?
I also prefer my Kratos with no armor, but I don't think that having it in the game is a sin. It would be a sin if the game makes you equip armor. It doesn't do that, right? I really hope it doesn't.
None shall defy me! Pull your weight or we go home.
But wouldn't that go against the entire point of the game?
Have you never met a dad before?
Keep going!
Normally I'd send this for being a repeated boss fight.
Still not a boss. Trolls do get overused though, but it's still not a boss.
Zeus! Atreus! Atreus!
Ah, I see we've come across the press X to Jason moment.
I wonder how many people would even get this reference now.
I'm about 4 hours into this game and I have seen a distinct lack of a threesome minigame.
This is obviously a joke, but I really don't want to have the press X to make Atreus face the corner and cover his ears while I bang some bitches. While I still have the ashes of my second wife in my inventory prompt.
I don't feel degraded at all.
God of War Surgeon Simulator.
What?
The hypest gameplay on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen.
Low points aren't a sin.
Prepare for battle!
I know you're a god. Not of this realm, but there's no mistaking it.
And somehow Atreus doesn't know about this, despite him witnessing his dad display incredible amounts of strength on multiple occasions.
Atreus seems normal enough not to assume that just because his dad is the strongest dad ever, like every single dad is, that he's a god. Also sounds like you think that the witch thinks that Kratos is a god just because he's strong? I got the vibe that she could, like, sense that he was a god, like, because of some magic or something. I would assume it was more like inherent abilities that she has that you could tell, but okay.
Do as your god commands.
The gods of these realms don't take kindly to outsiders, trust me.
Which becomes even more confusing when we find out later that Tyr had collected artifacts from different pantheons, and the fact that Odin himself craves knowledge that would help save him from Ragnarok, which would require him to travel to different realms, thus kind of making him an outsider.
Tyr is a good guy, so it's kind of safe to assume that he's not xenophobic. This guy has never met a racist person, or at least has no idea how humans work. There are plenty of people who don't want outlanders coming into their country, but have no problem going to somebody else's. It's called Mexico, dude.
Sparta!
I also need lamb's cress, do you mind? It's a white petal flower in my garden. Just a handful.
Fetch questing.
Not a fundamentally flawed concept, therefore not a sin.
Kratos!
This mark will hide you from those who might make your journey difficult.
Apparently Freya didn't get the memo that she's in a video game, and that we will attract the attention of many undesirables, such as the Sons of Thor.
I have no idea what he's sinning here. Is he sinning the fact that Freya does the thing? Or is he sinning the fact that it didn't work because it's a video game? I don't know.
Athena!
Gameplay-wise, one of the biggest sins is that we never actually get to fight the World Serpent. Now that would have been a boss battle for the ages.
And if we did, you would be sinning it because it would have been a rehash of the very first fight from the very first game.
The water dropped when the serpent rose.
Rather astonishing that the World Serpent knows exactly how much of its body it needs to remove in order for the water to subside to these levels. And it won't be the only time this occurs.
It's not that hard. Mimir says he's a lot smarter than he looks, too, lol.
I will make you suffer!
If it isn't the bearded beaver, it is Sackseed. Have I got something for you too?
Despite the temple being submerged literally seconds ago, Brock has already appeared and set up a fully operational shop. I mean, yeah, I know the game explains later on that it's due to dwarven magic, but even I have my limitations on excuses that I will accept.
I mean, that seems like a you thing.
Our journey is far from over.
But how did you...
None of your fucking business. Now get in here. I got something for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you just witnessed one of the most blatant attempts of a video game circumventing your disbelief and
This point is irrelevant because you just said that the game explains it later.
Kronos!
Catch! The pile of rocks there? With that key of Yggdrasil, you can open a magic door to the branches of the World Tree. A shortcut between the realms.
Brux says you can use this key as a shortcut between the realms. However, for now, you can only use this one way, bringing someone back to his shop. And even after the Bifrost is restored, you can't actually use these doors between the realms without going to the realm travel room.
Okay, I guess.
Video game cliche number 10, destroy, or in this case free 4 of anything to progress to the next objective.
At this point, I'm just going to add 2 every time he mentions a cliche.
The air on Olympus affects your thinking, brother.
Look! It's the world serpent. He's so much bigger than I imagined.
Yet you have already confirmed its size and witnessed it firsthand.
That's what he means. Here is an artistic depiction of the world serpent. The real thing is a lot bigger, and it's reasonable to think that Atreus has seen something similar before and had an idea in his mind of how big the world serpent was. And now he's just commenting on the fact that the artistic depictions don't do it justice.
Torment of my life.
Displeased if it turns out that you did something to her.
Oh, Sindri, you delightful little dweeb. Not too many characters out there that'll threaten Kratos knowing damn well they'll get destroyed. All in the name of respect for Faye. Now that's the kind of passion worthy of a sin reduction.
It is indeed very refreshing, I do agree.
She left its father before she died.
Faye's dead? I'm very, very sorry to hear that. She was a fierce warrior. And a good woman.
See? Now this is proper storytelling. Provide crucial information of an important character through dialogue interactions of those who have shared experience with said important character, all without ever resorting to using flashbacks.
Flashbacks aren't inherently bad. Also, if he didn't like this story bit, we all know he would have invoked the show don't tell rule.
Zeus!
Look, I understand that the game needs to compress its landscape for a more diverse quasi-open world, but I can actually see the line where the forest ends and the snowy mountain begins.
Okay, is this bad enough to be a sin, though?
Your torment is just beginning.
What is that?
You must find another way up.
This game should really be called God of War, a series of unfortunate events for how many times your main objective inexplicably gets impeded.
And by inexplicably, you mean they explain it like right as soon as, like, 2 seconds after the scene. Yeah, cool.
The witch! Wish she was here. Bet she could get us past this.
My magic is useless against the Black Breath, and there's no way around it.
With her magic and perfect timing, Freya has mastered the art of off-screen teleportation.
Now that is a bit too convenient.
Why wait to warn us?
I was busy, saving my friend, if you remember.
You had plenty of time to warn them about the Black Breath while they were at your cabin. You only did so now because the plot demanded it.
I mean, if she was busy and it wasn't something that they would have encountered for some time, I don't think it's impossible that she just didn't get around to talking about it.
It seems I still have allies on Olympus.
The Black Breath is a corruption of magic even I can't dispel. Only the pure light of Alfheim is strong enough to break through.
Then perhaps Odin should have blocked off access to that realm like he did these others, so that this objective could not be completed.
How easy is it to block a realm? What's the cost-benefit analysis that Odin does when he decides to block one?
Not you again!
Wait there while I reawaken the light. Liosta.
This is what happens when your game is limited by context-sensitive prompts. There is no legitimate reason as to why Kratos couldn't reach across that gap.
I agree.
The tree of life is bound to the fate of the world.
Then you've got yourself quite a plot hole, seeing as how Kratos already killed the Sisters of Fate in his own mythology, and we find out later on that Tyr had visited different locations with their own pantheons, including Greece. You can't share pantheons and expect consistency when Fate had already been destroyed in one, and all the mythologies have their own origin of how the world began.
I don't even know what his point is. Is it a sin because of the unclarity that comes with having multiple sets of gods that exist in the same world, that all have their own creation myth and other overlapping elements? The very obvious answer is that the sisters controlled the fate of the Greek people. Nords aren't Greek, last I checked. We go to this version of the underworld later, which seems to indicate that these worlds aren't on the same planet, or that they are far enough away from each other to not have any overlapping elements. Notable exception is probably the Romans.
God of War.
Every realm has a travel room that unlocks the bridge to that realm. I'm giving you the one for Alfheim.
Norse travel rune is the same as the Greek letter Omega. Perhaps this adds validity to all the pantheons coexisting in unison after all.
Why did you sin the game?
You must trust me!
No. damn it, not yet.
What's happening?
To restore the Bifrost magic, you must step into the light.
Freya, who has already said that there were measures being taken to keep her in Midgard, not only brings herself into Alfheim, but failed to mention the obstacles of the Black Breath, the lack of light needed for the Bifrost, and waited until she was being yanked back to Midgard to tell Kratos and Atreus about stepping into the light.
The "not yet" that she says seems to indicate that she thought she had a lot more time.
Why?
Oh, how could I ever comprehend the horror of seeing my child in peril when nobody ever bothers to attack him? Tension. What is it?
And if he did take damage, you'd be complaining about the fact that you have to keep resetting because Atreus keeps dying and that's out of your control. Consistency, what is it?
Leave the sea!
Man, if only I could determine what the weak spot is.
Video games telegraphing things to the player is not a bad thing. The Legend of Zelda's bombable walls are not peak game design.
I grow tired!
The light!
The Dark Elves have been attacking Kratos and Atreus ever since they got past the Lake of Light, yet decide not to do so now when they're getting close to the actual light of Alfheim, even when their voices can clearly be heard.
The same thing happens when Baldur first shows up to their house. He should be able to hear them and know that Kratos is hiding a boy. You should have noticed that earlier, honestly.
Let them suffer!
They're everywhere!
A narrow path negates superior numbers!
Kratos? Spartan tactics only work when your enemies can't fly and surround you.
True, but you're showing a clip of a bunch of dudes legit just standing right in front of him.
I was once a god. Only use it as a last resort.
Atreus does not need your axe to defend himself. He already has a bow with infinite arrows that he could just spam with little talent or effort. He can essentially Hanzo his way to victory, which he ends up doing anyway.
It's almost like the axe is more powerful than Atreus' dinky little bow.
You are not my daughter.
An old demigod dies, a young demigod lives. Fair trade.
Where's the sin?
Not quite a flashback within a hallucination cliche, but close enough.
Something sins brings up cliche.
I am cursed!
The Carry the Blue Crystal puzzles. Just the most riveting gameplay you will ever encounter.
Low points, again.
Calm yourself, Smith God.
Oh no, the boat isn't here. It's still back at the other side of the lake. We really gotta go back down here again?
Do you see any other way?
Well, you could swim.
Yeah, probably, unless the boy doesn't know how to swim or something, I don't know. I mean, they could be concerned about, getting the ashes all wet, but okay.
Keep your expectations low, boy, and you will never be disappointed.
You know, I can appreciate it whenever a video game character speaks the truth.
High school sucks. Everybody called me up.
So I should keep my expectations low, but always expect an attack?
It is a delicate balance. Expect the worst, assume nothing, and always anticipate an attack.
Man, it's like Kratos is after my own heart. He's so wise that I momentarily think he's a completely different character.
You're double dipping, this could have been 1 point.
Kill you, Zeus!
Well, look at that. The Mass Effect elevator decided to make an appearance.
The 11th commandment is thou shalt not ride elevators.
Face me, coward!
We're almost at the summit. Nothing's gonna stop us.
The tempting fate trope.
Yeah, this is getting old at this point.
It takes several hours to finally feel like a God of War game.
God of War isn't one big monster.
I am the god of war!
Can you kill something that big?
You serious?
You serious? Meme cliche.
Praise the gods.
Also, it makes complete sense that he would ask. Sure, he has seen Kratos being very, very strong, but he doesn't think he's a god or anything.
Hold the door, men!
What are these?
Braided mistletoe arrows.
Sindri might as well have just said, hey guys, here's the item you need to beat the game. Please enjoy this razor-sharp god-slaying world-ending Chekhov's gun.
This could easily have just been a normal upgrade. Nothing about this screams endgame. Come on, dude.
Keep going.
That sounds like the same man who came to our house. You said you killed him.
Not exactly, kid. He said he did what needed to be done. Context matters.
Kratos gave a non-answer, which usually doesn't mean no. Anybody who has lived more than 5 years knows this. Also, context matters. You saying that makes you even more wrong. What are you talking about?
Read!
The tattooed man. Tracks show he now travels with a child. Where would they go next?
Baldur does not need to ask this question, seeing as how we later find out he was looking for Faye the entire time. So either Odin made a glaring omission by not describing Faye's appearance, or that whole dialogue during the first confrontation with Baldur was a massive red herring. Either way, it's a sin.
Lol. Lamau even. Baldur thought that Kratos was hiding Faye. Faye is a chick and Kratos is a dude. Logically, them being together means that there is more than a 0% chance of them making a baby. So there is more than a 0% chance that the kid that Kratos is traveling with is also Faye's. If Baldur is still looking for Faye, his best bet is still Kratos. And even if Baldur turns out to be wrong from his perspective, he still comes out winning because he gets to fight Kratos again. Which is what he wants. Also, what fucking red herring? What the fuck are you talking about? Replay the intro with the knowledge that the giants are very smart, big, because, you know, obviously, and that they live in a place far from Midgard. Everything that Baldur says to Kratos makes sense.
I will not let you destroy Sparta.
Okay, there are a few gaps in my knowledge.
Just when you thought Mimir was like Google, he turned out to be Hotbot.
Haha, where's the sin again?
Release me!
He tortures me, you know. Every day, brother. Odin himself sees to it personally, and believe me, there is no end to his creativity.
Whoa, 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 hold the hell up. If Odin sees to Mimir's torture personally...
I don't know, this one's pretty long. I'm pretty sure that there's a reason that some people have given for why this happens, but I really just don't care. Let's just skip this one.
First, you need to cut off my head.
I'm going to cut off your head now.
Ha! Now that's the kind of deadpan humor that actually makes me like this version of Kratos.
It do be funny.
Do you remember the way to the witch's house? Boy, what is the path back to the witch? Do you remember the way back to the witch from here?
That is 3 times Kratos has asked basically the same question. Seems like his short-term memory loss is worse than mine.
How long has it been between those 3 questions? It seems like it's been a pretty long time.
Wait. Where did you get those? The arrows. Give them to me, now. These arrows are dangerous. They're wicked. You find any more, you destroy them, understand? Do you understand? Say it!
Freya's outburst heavily implies that she knows about the dangerous effects of mistletoe, even though the whole point of the spell she blessed Baldur with was to make him invulnerable to all forms of attack, physical or magical. So she must have found out about mistletoe after she blessed Baldur, in which case I would think she'd roam all of Midgard and search for all traces of mistletoe to destroy them. Either way, none of this is confirmed, so I'm counting it as a sin.
How feasible is it for her to do that? Also, is mistletoe only found in Midgard? Because I'm pretty sure she can't go to other realms to destroy him if it's not just from Midgard, so, you know.
Athena!
Also, Freya demands that Atreus relinquish his arrows, yet doesn't notice the mistletoe shard placed in his quiver on his chest.
It isn't that outrageous to think that she would have missed it.
I will make you suffer! He claimed you could revive him.
Technically you were the one who suggested Freya could revive him.
There's a witch of the woods. She knows the old ways.
Mimir says he needs old magic. Which have old magic. Me play Minecraft oof sound out of embarrassment.
It's been a long time since I've practiced the old magic.
And yet it'll require less effort than what it took to revive your shape-shifting boyfriend.
Out of practice doesn't mean that the process itself is harder or easier than any other magical thing. I haven't ridden a bike in a few years, but that's a lot easier than setting tile, for example.
I did you no wrong.
When word gets out that Mimir is free, the wrath of Odin won't be far behind.
See, that's what I thought.
This is a continuation of the last point, I don't care.
You know, for the longest of times I wondered what an Inception Bois machine looked and sounded like, and this is pretty much what I expected.
Where's Sin?
God damn it, man. This is the one game where I didn't want to experience any glitches because of how polished it is.
A glitch is indeed an objective mistake. Yep.
To burn down Asgard when Ragnarok comes at last. And we'll pick this up later.
I absolutely love this. Whenever Mimir is telling a story and you dock yourself in a location, he'll wait until after you've finished business and leave before continuing the story. The little things matter.
Yeah.
I have a plan.
You do? But I don't even think Thor with Mjolnir in hand could get through that much ice.
Then Thor is a fool.
And so is Mimir for not only underestimating the power of Mjolnir, but overestimating the stability of ice.
I don't think he was 100% super serious, but okay.
I am cursed!
Here, catch.
Now that's funny. Kratos is already so high on the asshole pyramid that he doesn't even need an apple to look like one. It's almost as if he's aware of the cliche.
Cliche.
However, Atreus is not above eating an apple to let you know how much of an asshole he's going to be.
Cliche times 2.
These Bigby Wolf Crash Bandicoot pricks.
I don't know.
Hurry, brother. We may get a piece of the chisel and be gone before they even notice.
Ah, I see the boy is not the only one who is a fan of testing their own luck.
Is bad luck a sin? I mean, at this point, I don't know.
Do you know of it?
You know, there aren't many boss fights in this game, but this one is exceptional enough to where I'll take off a sin.
Cool.
That must have been some forge made with the last in.
Oh, really? We're resorting to your mom insults, huh?
Atreus is your mom insults target audience, so yeah, it makes sense. He's a child, you know?
Well, never thought I'd come across another unlocking mechanic as bad as Skyrim, but I did.
In what way is it worse than Skyrim's, though? Is it too easy or too annoying? Skyrim has received enough of both versions of this criticism for me not to be able to tell which one he means immediately. Also, I've heard that you can go into the menu and press an option that just allows you to press a single button to open these doors, so that's funny.
For the purpose I have chosen.
Alright, here's the total of sins. Here's the total of sins. I'm putting this at a random point in the video, probably like slightly after the midway point. Because I've noticed that a lot of these kind of like sin counter videos, like a lot of people just like skip to the very end and just look at the number, like, oh, this is how many. Yeah, that number is pretty much completely meaningless. Actually, listen to what the person is saying, you know, because again, well, we'll see at the end. Spoilers for the end, but the total amount on his video is almost is 358. And you look at that and go, wow, that's a lot of sins. That's crazy. But like a third of that is bullshit. So yeah, actually just listen to the arguments. I'm actually just listen to what I'm saying. You know, don't look at the number. The number's it's stupid and almost meaningless.
Kratos, who has already defeated Magni and Modi, and also withstood the punishment of the much powerful Baldur, still gets immobilized by lightning.
This is so obvious that I can't help but call you dishonest here. It is clearly because it is Norse magic. I mean, it would have hurt him either way, but the fact that it affects him this much makes it a lot easier to interpret it this way. I mean, the dude doesn't even look that strong, you know? Like, what else? Why else would this be happening?
God of War!
Somebody just called the serpent.
Which is odd, seeing as how the world serpent talks in a dead language that only Mimir can speak and understand. Wouldn't make sense for it to be Modi since he just got defeated again, and it's not Baldur because he fights the serpent later on.
Yeah, so apparently this is a mystery that never gets resolved in this game, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's such a minor point in the game that it really can't be hit with that mystery box label. Something not being immediately explained isn't inherently bad. And again, since it's such a minor point, it really doesn't have that much effect on the story.
Hear me!
So the whole ordeal of Atreus' illness is that he believes he's 100% mortal, but I'm wondering why he thinks that when he wouldn't even know what a mortal is. Everything up until this point has been a monster of some kind, and his dad has shown multiple times that he's incredibly strong, more so than any mortal could have been. Plus, he's quite observant and knowledgeable to the point where he should have picked up on the signs that he's not 100% mortal.
He shouldn't even know what a mortal is, but yet he should know that Kratos is too powerful to be a mortal? And he is too smart to not know that he isn't mortal? Lol. Lamau even. What even is this point? I had to re-listen to this point like 6 times just to make sure that I was actually hearing the words and I thought I was hearing. And yes, this point makes no sense. Also, you add percentages in this for no reason.
This rune opens the bridge to Helheim.
So we can just enter hell that easily, huh? Kratos doesn't even have to die this time.
Why is this a sin?
Hades!
Freya still doesn't notice that piece of mistletoe on Atreus' quiver.
Now it's a sin. She spends way too much time for her to not notice this time.
And all the time Kratos has been in Midgard, his home was just a little downstream from Freya's. Yet they only had their first encounter recently, which becomes even more puzzling if you took a glimpse at that prequel comic.
I don't care about prequel comics. I don't think it's that far-fetched to think that Kratos wouldn't have ventured out much.
Olympians.
I'm not gonna lie, seeing the Blades of Chaos again was legit one of the hypest moments I've had in a long time. So much so that I'll take off a sin. They were kept away long enough for you to miss them, so that when the time arrived, getting them back would feel fulfilling.
I agree, making the player use the axe first for this long makes this reveal really special.
But I do have to question how and why they're in his possession, seeing as how Ares stripped them away at the end of the first game, and keeping them would only further remind him of the slaughter he committed against his former family.
Some people have come up with the theory that the different blades throughout the 3 games are actually just the same set of blades, just being changed by Athena. Also, although Ares did strip away the blades at the end of the first game, there wasn't any indication that this was a permanent thing. I believe that the narration in the first game states that he is stuck with them forever, so maybe they just magically crept back to him, I don't know. This isn't a fault in the guy though, because this is a logical question to ask, so just thought I would bring it up.
There's nowhere you can hide, Spartan.
Ah, bringing back the original voice actor for Athena. Kinda makes me wonder why you couldn't do the same for Kratos himself.
Yeah, rip OG voice actor, man. That's kind of sad. I do like the new guy, but you can definitely tell it's a new voice actor when he starts to yell. He just sounds way too different. When he does like the low voice, keep it like boy, blah, 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 he sounds pretty good. But when he starts to yell, you can really tell like this is somebody completely different.
Sweet nanas nethers. What are those?
Brock, this is really not the game for you to be using shitty memes.
Oof. Criticizing shitty memes when the whole sending a piece of media is in fact a shitty meme itself? Funny.
Let me take this moment to tell you that what you are about to do is absolutely insane. Not even Odin can survive this cold.
Then Kratos is going to have a pretty easy time against Odin when the later installments release, because he can survive perfectly fine.
That doesn't mean that Odin is weak, it just means that Kratos has the Blades of Chaos. Pay attention.
The god of the underworld! Get off!
Ha 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 ha, 10 sins.
The Bridgekeeper boss turns out to be just another troll, and not whatever the hell this thing is.
Yeah, trolls do get overused, man.
Did I tell you that I have a son, too?
If you were planning on that being a big reveal, then you kind of failed. You did say you would take care of the boy. That's a mother's promise.
You just disproved your point. Yeah, she wasn't saving that for Act 3 of her play that she was going to perform for Kratos. If you're talking about the game not holding this as a big reveal, well, not having a big reveal isn't a sin, so,
Hear me!
When I came to these shores, I chose to live as a man. But the truth is, I was born a god.
Actually, you had to kill Ares at the end of the first game. Then you attempted suicide when the gods wouldn't erase your nightmares. Then they saved you to serve as the new god of war. And then you became a god.
yeah, this game really doesn't like the word demigod for some reason. It doesn't really make any sense.
Alert! Gameplay inconsistency. How are the Winds of Hell contraptions in Tyr's vault if the only way to transfer the Winds of Hell are through the Blades of Chaos, which were made possible because of Brock, who had no idea the blades even existed, and which Kratos had kept hidden underneath his home for quite some time.
That's not a gameplay inconsistency. Also, that's just how Kratos makes the thing work. I doubt it was designed with the Blades of Chaos in mind. Is this a troll? Am I being baited right now?
This is my war!
Saving the hero in the nick of time cliche.
Saying cliche in the cliche of cliche.
Read!
This game actually pulled some DMC Devil May Cry color-coded enemy only vulnerable to one type of weapon bullshit.
Color-coded enemies isn't inherently bad game design. Why would it be better if every enemy got damaged by whatever you hit him with? Or are you upset with the telegraphing thing again? Would it be better if the game just didn't tell you what enemies didn't get damaged by what, visually?
Kratos!
There are consequences to killing a god!
Well, you didn't seem to suffer many consequences when you killed practically the entire Greek pantheon. Sure, you caused a worldwide apocalypse. You didn't seem to suffer many consequences caused a worldwide apocalypse. Two different pieces of wrist armor share the exact same appearance, even though one is epic and the other is legendary.
Very minor, but I do agree.
Speaking of the rarity system, the color codes in this game are incorrect. It should be green, uncommon, blue, rare, purple, epic, legendary, variation of orange, yellow, and gold.
Actually, it should be the exact opposite of that. That's the right way of doing it.
Die with honor!
Kratos and Atreus have spent an entire game trying to reach Jotunheim. Now that it's in arm's reach, they waste just enough time for Baldur to show up and interfere.
It's like a few seconds, dude. If they wasted no time at all, you would just send it for the convenience thing again.
Face me now, Zeus!
You may not notice it because you might be too focused on the fight between Kratos and Baldur, but the dragon is actually looping around the map of Midgard. All the more telegraphed when Kratos Captain Americas his way back to Tyr's temple.
You may not have noticed this minor detail in the background because of what's happening on screen and because of the way that the shot was composed. Yeah. Where's the sin, by the way? I'm still looking for those sins. Where are they? Are you hiding them? Please reveal them.
Your powers are no match for me!
Oh, okay. Wasn't aware I was playing God.
Skip, I don't care.
You will listen to me and not speak a word. I am your father, and you, boy, are not yourself. You are too quick to temper. You are rash, insubordinate, and out of control. This will not stand. You will honor your mother and abandon this path you have chosen. It is not too late.
Now this is a masterful piece of work. Kratos, of all people, disciplining his son without ever once resorting to violence. This is the kind of character growth I can support.
It's funny because if the game was more consistent, he would have totally hit the boy by now.
Freya is his mother. Why did you keep this from us, Head?
Would you believe it slipped my mind?
No, but I can believe it's because the plot didn't call for it yet. That sounds a lot more plausible.
Nah, he do be bewitched though.
Release me from this torment of my life.
Earlier, Freya said that Helheim is a place where no fire can burn and no magic would work.
It is a land of unyielding cold. Fires cannot burn there, and no magic in all the 9 realms can create a blaze.
Yet these piles can clearly be set ablaze to keep this boat sailing.
What? What are you talking about? This is the worst point in the entire video, hands down. Like, there's no contest, man. Just the absolute worst. I don't know how this got through. I don't know how you can claim to like the Blades of Chaos reveal so much when you miss like the first part of the reveal. It's what she's saying here is what makes us and Kratos go, "Ah, man, we know what's coming next," because what she's describing, what we need, is exactly what we had in the previous games. Duh. I don't like. Very obviously, Greece is outside of the 9 realms. Obviously, it's the reason why you need to go get them. Not just to set a blaze, because, like, she's not telling us, oh, you need to, like, set some fires in there while you're in there. No, she's saying it because, like, we're going to be really cold and we need something to, like, heat us up. So just having the blaze in his possession is, like, enough, you know? Which is something that I kind of alluded to earlier, because obviously I watched this whole video before writing any of the sins. But he just somehow missed this completely. I don't know how. And I don't think he's being, like, dishonest, like, oh, I'm intentionally just missing this point. I honestly think he just didn't pay enough attention. 50 sins. Insane.
Face me, father. It is time to end this.
Yes, my son. It is time.
Man, Kratos from God of War 3 is sounding a lot less T.C. Carson than I remember.
Yeah, I agree.
First-person point of view during a flashback within a realm meant to torture its inhabitants. Hey, there's a first time for everything.
So, even when it's the exact opposite of a cliche, even then you're gonna sin it. What's the point of even sinning cliches then? Aren't you trying to highlight that cliches lower the quality of the work in question? Comments like these are why people need to resort to the satire defense, jeez.
My son.
I have a plan! Jump!
Your plan was to jump? Even though that was your only option anyway?
Atreus is a little boy that has very simple plans. Sin the game.
You lie!
Look at that! It's the missing panel about Tyr.
Whoa, hold up. If this is Odin's secret chamber, and he has the missing panel about Tyr's visit to other pantheons, and he craves the giant's gift of prophecy, why didn't he use Mimir before imprisoning him to reveal Tyr's travel through the realm between realms, since Odin knows Mimir possesses the giant's gift of sight? And then, I don't know, cast a spell on Mimir like he did with Freya so that he would never tell anyone about it?
Did Odin know that Mimir could do that? Because it seemed like Mimir himself didn't even know he could do that.
The ass of Zeus.
Remember when people complained about the 4th act in Shadow of War?
No, I don't.
Runic Summon only searches for consumables, and has a 167-second cooldown.
Everything in the game needs to be as useful as everything else.
Torment is just beginning.
Great Audumlazaras. That's the Unity Stone.
You know it.
I wasn't sure it existed.
Mimir, smartest man in the world, knowledgeable in all artifacts and conflicts, wasn't sure that an important stone existed.
That just highlights how obscure this stone was. What?
Keep going.
That's it. I understand now. It shows Tyr walking the realm between realms.
Oh, you mean the same technique that Sindri's been able to pull off?
You can be invisible?
More like I can step into the realm between realms. And your mind doesn't understand what it's seeing, so it sees nothing at all.
The same dwarf that has been omnipresent throughout most of this game? Strange how you need the Unity Stone to do exactly what he's been able to do most of this game.
Tyr ain't a dwarf, though. It's like Imperials having the voice of the Emperor, or the Red Guards having the Adrenaline Rush. You know?
Hera.
I'm sorry. As a matter of fact, Odin asked me to...
Dude, you've already gotten your hands...
We're skipping this one, I don't care.
Well, lads, I don't know what lies ahead, but now would be a good time to make sure your gear is ready for the worst. Anything you need to do, I'd do it now.
Translation: complete our damn side quests, you fucking peasants. Otherwise, we won't allow you to progress any further because you'll be artificially underpowered, even though you are Kratos, the aptly named God of War.
Massive, massive L. Games giving you the chance to step away from the main quest while also not making things feel just kind of off because of the urgency of the main quest is mega based, as the kids say. I mean, it's one of the reasons why people kind of look down on Oblivion's main quest. The whole thing is so urgent that you really don't have any logical point where your character would go, you know what, I'm actually going to go do something else, just because of how urgent everything is. Also, how true is this whole underlevel thing? Can anybody that is a mega-brained individual like myself confirm or deny this? Because a lot of people will say that you need to grind in games when you really don't, and since this guy is very fond of the whole saying cliche thing, well, you know.
He thinks it might still be in his stomach. And he's open to letting you roll into his mouth to look inside.
The stomach acid from the world serpent would have eroded this statue already.
It would have?
And even if that wasn't the case, it's the world serpent, which spans the entire globe. It would have been rowing in there for weeks, possibly months.
It would? I don't know much about the world serpent, but real snakes do take a while to digest things that they eat, you know? So would the world serpent take like even longer to do that, or a shorter amount of time to do that? Also, where's my man's stomach? Is it like directly in the middle of the thing? Does he have multiple stomachs like a cow? How long does anything he eats actually take to reach the stomach? Like, will his digestive process even start if his stomach isn't full? Does he even have a digestive process? What does the world serpent eat? If any of these questions are legitimately answered by the real-ass Norse mythology, don't even bother telling me, because I don't care. Because this is a game. A game that is part of a series that is known for taking several liberties when it comes to using the source material. So, that is not canon to this world, evidently.
This is your purpose!
Also, this section is basically a lesser version of the Riftworm level from Gears of War 2.
Oh boy, talking about lesser versions when this is just a lesser version of CinemaSins? Well, actually, maybe not lesser. That implies that CinemaSins is good, but you know what I mean.
I cannot change my fate!
Finally, we're going to Yuna. There's no stopping us now.
Laddie, have you ever heard the term tempting fate?
Clearly not, because neither of you two seem concerned about how shitty your luck is.
Where's Sin?
Kratos.
Hold on! What's going on?
What's happening to him?
Nothing good!
Hold tight and watch your balance.
Well, looks like Baldur is a fan of video game cliche number 5, hitting a boss with 3 major strikes to take it down. I think he was onto something here.
Shit.
Zeus!
Back off, Kratos. This has nothing to do.
I don't recall Kratos ever revealing his name to Freya.
Yeah, the fact that Kratos doesn't go like, hey, how do you know my name? Pretty much confirms that this is just a mistake.
Hey, look, that piece of mistletoe that was clearly visible on Atreus' quiver ends up being the undoing of Baldur.
I guarantee you that at least 85% of people first playing this completely forgot about the mistletoe.
Kratos!
Oh, come on. Did you really put in a final boss that needs assistance in a 2018 video game featuring gods?
Needs.
What I do now, I do for the good of all Olympus.
In true God of War fashion, the final boss ends in a father-son tag team QuickTime event.
Haha, where's the Sin?
Tell me where you are! Well done, boy!
Not gonna lie, that was kind of awesome. Praise be to Snack.
I honest to God enjoyed the part where Kratos says well done boy more than the whole action-y thing there. I'm not even capping. If you check my cap levels right now, they're at negative 1,000, because I honestly like that more.
The cycle ends here.
He says right before killing another god, something that he's been doing since the very first game. And yes, I do understand the context of what he's saying, that he doesn't want the cycle of sons killing their parents to continue, but my point still stands. If you really want the cycle to end, you'll start by setting your own example of not killing any gods. But that's not going to happen because that would defeat the entire purpose of this series.
My point still stands if I pretend the point of Kratos saying the thing that he said is totally different than what it actually means. Baldur wasn't gonna stop. You can't talk your way out of this one, boy, which is something that Kratos is actually trying to do.
I would rather die!
So you'd let me kill you?
If it meant you would live. Yes.
Not so subtle foreshadowing.
And if the boy killed Kratos with no indication that he was going to do so beforehand, you would say that it came out of nowhere, that it was completely random, and then a little ding sound would have happened, and the number would have increased. Also, foreshadowing isn't a sin.
Spartans do not surrender. I have nothing more to hide.
Except you have yet to tell Atreus that you're covered in the ashes of your former family, and that you killed them yourself.
Not telling the people around you everything about you unprovoked isn't hiding something. If the boy asks him about his pale skin in the next game, my guess is that Kratos will hesitate but ultimately tell him. Did I just take a massive L? Does that not happen in the next game? Does Atreus ask him and he just never tells him? Am I taking the biggest L? Am I currently transforming into the LJP Mexican for the rest of the year? I hope not.
Great sisters of fate.
It kind of dilutes the game experience when you find out that everything you've done so far was predestined. So, chopping down the tree that...
I ain't gonna make you guys watch this whole thing. Why is this a sin?
This game is not really surprising anybody by foretelling Kratos' death. He's already died multiple times throughout the series, and has returned to life every single time.
Why is this a sin?
I guess there's just one thing I don't understand. My name on the wall. The Giants called me... Loki?
Nice try, game, but this plot twist isn't nearly as clever as you think it is. Anyone who can pick up on nuances and subtleties saw this coming a mile away. The fact that Atreus' face son, whose name is a play on Laufey, who is Loki's mother in actual Norse myth, when Mimir said that the world serpent thought the boy seemed familiar. The fact that every lore entry and story Mimir told never once mentions Loki. Balder being harmed by mistletoe, similar to how he was killed in Norse myth thanks to trickery by Loki. The fact that Atreus was able to communicate with the world serpent, whom he's the father of in Norse myth, and the last part of the mural with Atreus walking with the wolves, most likely being Fenrir's skull and Hati, with Fenrir also being a son of Loki.
You're complaining about the fact that the people that made this game put enough attention to add clues throughout the game, where if you knew enough about the mythology, you could come to the conclusion on your own. This isn't something to complain about. This is a good thing. Why?
I grow tired of the lies of the gods!
He's here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative and
Boo, you suck.
I am cursed! Get in the boat, boy.
Something sins bonus round cliche.
Athena! 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 Athena!